what are some of the earliest things you think, or you could start leaning in, or to open conversations up, maybe to understand the difference between loneliness and isolation?
Yeah. So I'll explain the difference between loneliness and isolation from the lens of a caregiver, because I think it will make a perfect sense here.
Okay.
And I think, what you're referring to is I did become the caregiver for my family after the death of Riley, because my spouse was in such grief, as you can imagine, to the point where the whole DNA of the family shifted. So
Sure.
if you think about it from the caregiver lens, here's isolation. Isolation is actually physically being alone, the act of. So let's say you were caring for an elderly parent in the home, and that parent was homebound. And so in effect, it made you homebound, meaning you weren't going out as much as you used to. You had to get yourself
Sure.
respite. You even wanted to go get your nails done, or go see your friends, or go to the store, or go to church. And so that's isolation. And that is profoundly difficult and hard, and has lots of emotional and behavioral, physical effects on the person.
Sure.
Loneliness is the perception in the brain. It is not, it doesn't matter what you can be in a house of 20 people and still be chronically lonely. And I think what's important to recognize about both of these things is that there's degrees. So from the lens of a caregiver, I could be lonely. I'm not physically isolated, and I have the support of my brother and my sister as I'm a caregiver. They understand it, but they don't closely relate to the trials and tribulations that I'm facing as I'm caring for my elderly parent, or my spouse, or whomever it may be.
Yeah.
And that is the important part. If I believe that, and this is the science of loneliness, that someone doesn't understand my plight, that no one understands my plight, the brain literally starts to rewire, and you end up putting yourself into what we call chronic loneliness. And what happens then is, you stop talking to people about your trials and tribulations. You stop reaching out, because why? They don't get it anyway. Nobody can
Right.
support me. They're never going to understand. And then your own health starts to decline. And there's been study after study, and I'll just quote one. If you are in a chronically lonely phase, it has the same effect on the body as smoking 15 cigarettes a day.
That is so. What you just like dropped into the back of my head does touch. It touches back into law enforcement stuff. Do you probably recall maybe touching back into that when we talk about training, like that ability to, in your mind, maybe park across the street from something and think about, okay, well, if a bank robbery happened here, or something happened off of here, I would do this and I'd come here, and that they literally have the science saying that you would do that and pull that into which your brain would determine, if it ever happened, it would call on that experience, and it would be able to state that that's a thing. It sounds like that's a lot of the same things that our brains are doing when we start talking ourselves into the loneliness. Is it's recalling what it is we've talked it through when we're in that mind exercise of just kind of going there. Am I on? Is that? Am I?
Yeah, I mean, um, I'll
I've
just
never
go
thought
back
about it
to,
that way. Never thought
yeah,
about it that way. That's yeah.